We begin again focusing on the whole lesson today is that writing scores aren't as strong as they can be from the majority of students we work with because the reading is kind of quickly talked about and not explained in a way that's clear. So that's lowering our score. That's why we're isolating it, focusing on it, and thinking about this in pieces. Is this part clear? And then when we think about the lecture, is the reference to the reading clear? And is the lecture completely explained? So here's one example from Hani. I hope it's okay. I wrote names to help me so that the more students can get reviewed. So it's tough to keep track of who I've already reviewed. So studying abroad has many benefits, which are supported by studying over 16 years. According to the passage, US students should use these opportunities seriously, right? So we want to be careful with this because the language here actually is created differently. So the accuracy is missing. First, oops, I know it's a little bit tricky, but we want to begin with, the author, because these aren't our words. We're reporting them on behalf of the author. So the author explains that, states that, says the reading, right? The author explains studying abroad has many benefits, comma, which are supported by studying over 16 years. This is actually a bit different. We want to be careful because when we read, it says during 320,000 students studied abroad during the 2015 to 16 academic year. So that means in this year, this many students studied abroad. So that piece of information we want to change, right? So we would just delete that. According to the passage, US students should use these opportunities seriously. Now, these is a little tricky because you talked about studying abroad, so there's nothing plural. Use the benefits is a little confusing because what the author is saying is, according to the passage, US students should, you could say this in different ways, but it's consider studying abroad seriously. Now, the claim the author is making would be clear if it was US students should study abroad. That's really the professor's claim, right? The author explains studying abroad has many benefits, and then maybe we can say just so US students should study abroad. This is a clear, simple sentence. In this situation, I believe that's all you need. If you write more, it's fine, but can you tell the difference? This sentence is pretty complete and clear in stating the author's opinion. In the previous one we did, because we're talking about a hum and a mystery, it would be strange if we didn't give more details about it. So does everyone realize for this, you could write just one sentence and it's okay? Does that make sense, everybody? For the previous reading, we needed 2 or 3. For this one is fine. Does everyone understand that? Yes, no, maybe so? Good. Negan says yes. More yes, no, maybes. Feed me, feed me, feed me comments. Good. Now this is where comprehension comes in. So that's what helps you determine, because sometimes it'll be more, sometimes it'll be less, sometimes it'll be a little bit tougher, so you need more explanation. So now let's go to Sylvain. The author states that there is an increase of 4% in the students studying abroad. He said that this a significant benefit of studying abroad. Good. Now we're getting to the language here. Now, let's fix this significant. Spelling is a little bit inaccurate. That's okay. We want to work on spelling. He says that we're missing the verb is a significant benefit of studying abroad. Now, according to these 2 sentences, this is telling me that what is the benefit, everybody? Can you type it? According to these 2 sentences, and Sylvain, I think you probably understand if you read it, what are we saying is the benefit according to this sentence. This is a good question for your reading comprehension. Maryam says none, not quite. Can anybody see according to this sentence? Good. Anjanabin, you got it. Increase of students. Good, Beatrice, very good. So according to this sentence, the only thing you've told me before is that there was an increase of 4% of students studying abroad. He says that this is a significant benefit. So this can only refer to an increase of 4%. And that's strange because that's not a benefit, that's a fact, right? And that's a bit inaccurate towards what the author said, because the author said the fact that more people are studying abroad shows there are benefits, right? So the author is using evidence like, look, more people are going abroad. That implies, infers, suggests, is evidence that people like it, that it's beneficial. So that's not the benefit, that's the evidence of the benefit. Does that make sense, everybody? Yes, no, maybe so? And this is normal, Sylvain, and for everyone out there, I want you to understand that that's the trouble. When you write a sentence, you want to take a moment to think about what the sentence says. In tutoring sessions, often what we do is we have you close your eyes, take a deep breath to forget what you did, keep your eyes closed, and I read the sentence to you. And then I say, does that make sense? And then you would say, no. Because you're evaluating your sentence really authentically, really carefully, and you're like, no, that doesn't have the same meaning. That means you're getting a lower score than you deserve because you can tell this is a bit inaccurate. So you want to write your sentence, but think first, speak second. What am I trying to say? Let me think of the point and explain the point by typing rather than just kind of type what I heard or kind of get through it. And Amanfi says, can I say he? No, it's better not to. I didn't really point it out. It's not too big a deal, but again, you don't know the gender of the author, male or female. So the only thing you can say is the author, the reading, the passage, the article, or just, say the reading more than once. It's not a big deal. The reading, the reading, the reading. So he adds that this is a necessity in our modern world rather than an option. This is pretty good, but to make it clearer, necessity for who? Yeah, it, Beatrice, so here we can say it, right? And then here we can say it also. Who is it a necessity for, everyone? I'm doing this waiting. The head nod. Huh? You all went quiet. Okay, students. So we want to be careful of our subjects. So it adds that. So let's correct this. The author states that there is an increase of 4% in the students studying abroad. It says that this is evidence that there are significant benefits to, right? Benefits to doing something, benefits to eating healthy, benefits to studying abroad. Now, it adds, this is really awesome, right? Because it's such a powerful example of what we see all the time. So one thing that I want to talk about is we see very often transition words used almost like a habit rather than purposefully, which gets us into trouble. So when you evaluate your essay or when you struggle, I want to encourage you to go to Google and Google it. So for example, to show you, if you go to Google and you just search transition words, right? I had this prepared because I wanted to talk about this. So we see this so often that we can predict it. That's why we have a class to help, right? And if you go to transition words and images, you see a bunch of very meaningful lists. Now, linking words in English, you see emphasis, addition, contrast, order, So I put the image for you here. Let's see here. Yeah. So this can be quite helpful, but that doesn't mean you add it, because what we're saying is here in this situation, right? When you look at them, when you study them, you don't just want to use them from memory. This is evidence that there are significant benefits to studying abroad. It adds that this is a necessity. Is add the best word? What are we trying to say? There are significant benefits. In addition, it's a necessity. Is that the correct phrase? In addition? Not ooh, also and moreover, and in fact, are all kind of saying the same thing. So think about it. There are huge benefits to studying abroad. Uh, Go study abroad. What's the transition? Good. Anjana Ben got it. So what are we saying? There are huge benefits to studying abroad. Transition word, study abroad. In addition, furthermore, good. Anjana Ben's got it. Therefore, so, it's a cause and effect. It's like evidence. Consequently, as a result, this is why you should study abroad. Hence, very good. Does everyone see the difference? And I hope you recognize that add is a word I know you understand. It's a word that students learn when they're beginning of their studies of English. Same thing with as a result. So you see the conflict that sometimes we're reading paragraphs that have good content, and then all of a sudden we see words that are considered kind of basic because they're learned in the first year of studying English, used maybe not inappropriately, but not accurately. So now the grader is conflicted. Okay, there's good content, but the language usage is sometimes not high. So the grader is going to tend to not give you the higher score. So these are things that you want to be careful of. The transition words. This is not another point. This is a consequence. Does that make sense, everybody? Very important point. Yes, no, maybe so? Good. Now, Beatrice, can I just say by doing so? By doing so is actually not quite accurate, because by doing so means by doing that. But it's really as a result. So, as a result, it adds is okay, right? Because you're saying consequently, the reading has another sentence that makes this claim. Or you could say as a result, sorry, it claims that studying abroad is a necessity for students in our modern world rather than an option. Now, this is going to get the full credit, right? That studying abroad is a necessity for students. Does everyone see how we change things? We made it a bit clearer in our references and in our explanations. Does that make sense, everybody? Yes, no, maybe so? Good, good. Now let's look at the next paragraph. And Amanfi says no. Please, can you type what's a little confusing or tricky? Maybe this next paragraph review will help. So here we go. The author states that there is an increased number of students studying abroad. Good. Now, increased number. Increase is a noun. Number is a noun. So we can say increasing, right, because the number is getting higher. Or we can say increase in the number, right, adjective. The author states that there is an increasing number of students studying abroad. It means that. Good means, it implies, it infers, it suggests. It means that students are getting significant benefits from this. Excellent. Now, I would be a little tricky. Now, I need to be careful with my words. Be careful with your pronoun usage, because you have two pronouns referring to different things. This is very well worded. There's nothing wrong. But I want you to help your grader. I want you to have them have an easy time reading. So it means that students are getting significant benefits from studying abroad. Because it's easier, because if you have two pronouns or three pronouns in a sentence, there's a lot of work I have to do. It also puts a lot of pressure on your grammar and your essay, because every pronoun reference has to be super clear, which can be tricky. So that's why we have a general recommendation to avoid pronouns, or maybe just one per sentence, or be careful when you use it, because you see how your pronouns can easily lead you to maybe miswrite. The reading states that studying abroad is a great choice rather than an option. Good. So, little tricky because choice and option are the same thing. So the author is trying to say it's no longer a choice or an option. It's like a requirement. So we would say the reading states that studying abroad is a requirement rather than a choice. So the author states that there is an increasing number of students studying abroad. It means that students are getting significant benefits from studying abroad. Yeah, I guess maybe this. It's a little repetitive. The reading states that studying abroad, I would just say, should be. Is okay, but it's the author's opinion. So I think should be is more appropriate, right? Should be a requirement rather than an option. And the reason is because it's not right now, but the author thinks it should be. So does that make sense, everybody? We reviewed another three, and what I'm teaching you is every you're making points in a few sentences, so you got to check on it. You got to check, is my reading making the point clearly? Is my transition accurate? Am I using the words that match instead of add as a result, or vice versa? Then when you get to the lecture, it's like, is the point of how the lecture refutes the reading clear? And is the evidence clear that the lecture provided? So you want to evaluate in units. Is this clear? Is this clear? Is this clear? Is this clear? Does that make sense, everyone? So today is all about giving more respect to the reading, because you see it, you don't want to misspell things that are there, and you want to make the point clear. We don't want to lose any points on that, and we notice a lot of students are. That's why we're focusing on it. And you see that there's always some improvements to make. Yeah. So Beatrice asked, should be, have to. It would use must be, right? All right. So now we're not going to focus on the lecture. That'll be tomorrow. I really want to get in your minds being clear, because this is the introduction. Number two, students tend to lose points in the reading, in the body paragraphs, because it's often incomplete. So that's why I want to tell you again, sometimes one sentence is perfectly fine. Sometimes it's not. So you have to evaluate, is this clear? So it's always going to be like 1 to 2, 1 to 3 sentences. So now what I'm going to do is share with you the next paragraph and give you 50 seconds to read that. So scratch paper, the next reading, 50 seconds. Is everyone ready? You have your scratch paper? Don't begin yet. Yes, no, maybe so. Good. Here we go. Go ahead and begin taking notes on this reading paragraph, the next paragraph, now. All right, pretty fast, right? So you really want to get a sense of what's the point here. Just a couple of words. We might work on note taking a little bit now. I'll go back and forth a bit. So when we look at this, so I'm going to think, how can I help you? Okay. If you just read the first sentence, it's super clear. But if that's all you wrote, it would be incomplete because the second half of the paragraph has an important point you need to have. So that's why we also teach now, do your best to read the whole paragraph. Focus on the key point, but you want to read it all because it helps you understand. Sometimes it's a little complicated and you have to put one or two sentences together, and it prepares you for the lecture. So again, comprehension first, strategy second. For those of you, if you're looking to improve, you want that balance, right? So that means that you don't just follow strategy, you don't just read carefully, you use them both together. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you write your paragraph applying what you learned for this. And again, I'll give you a minute and 30 seconds. But I'm going to quiz you first. Everybody, how much time do you have for each body paragraph? 3 minutes for the introduction. How much for the body paragraph? How much, everybody? Joy, do you remember? Ooh, Joy, you got it. Almost. Oh, we have 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 40 seconds, 4 minutes, 8 minutes, 5 minutes, 20 seconds. So 9 minutes. So this is good, right? Tell me again, everybody, the introduction. Introduction. How much time? Let's see if you remember. How much time? Look at that timer. You got to follow that timer. How much time? 3 minutes. Body paragraph, 5 minutes, 40 seconds. A couple of you got it. 5 minutes, 40 seconds. You don't have to be down to the second when you do it. You know, you could take a little more, a little less time, but you want to have that guide. If you don't have that guide, we're in trouble because you're just going to be writing according to feeling and you're going to see what we usually see. Everything is clear in the first half, and then the last half, it's unclear, and we kind of get into trouble. So 5 minutes, 40 seconds. So 1 minute and 30 seconds for the reading is kind of an appropriate amount of time for each paragraph. Maybe a little more, a little less. So I'm going to give you a minute, 30 seconds again to write that clear point about the reading, this information here. Does everyone understand? So 5 minutes, 40 seconds for the whole paragraph. But today, to teach you about the reading, we're focusing on that only. So now I'm going to give you a minute and 30 to write the beginning of the first body paragraph. Does that make sense, everybody? Yes, no, maybe so? Good. 1 minute, 30 seconds. Good luck. Go ahead and begin. All right, that's 1 minute and 30 seconds. And so, Noelba, I saw yours. I'm happy you're here. Okay, let's see. So here's Noelba. And then let's do Beatrice. I don't think I did yours. And then Amanfi. I don't think I did yours. And so all right, and we have our 3. So for those of you who aren't being reviewed, look at your paragraph at the same time as you see mine. It can be a little bit difficult because you have so much screen space, so many things happening. But if you can, have a little window open that has your paragraph as we review paragraphs together, you can compare and edit yours. And the action of editing is going to help you so that when we hang up, you have a better skill. Again, my goal is not to make this a movie, right? But you guys are doing great, and you girls you're all doing great because you're participating, right? Make sure that you keep doing that even if you're not being reviewed. All right, so let's look at the first one, Noelba. The reading states that studying abroad, so no problem. We just want to be careful with that. And again, that's spelled correctly in the reading, so just something to be aware of. The reading states that studying abroad gives, because studying abroad is singular, eating apples, going to the beach is. So studying abroad gives some benefits to people for future employment. And that, for example, when people go to study to a country that have a different language, they acquire the native language, and this is a great value for the future employment. So we want to spell that. This is a very nice sentence. Very good, very clear. And my opinion is it can be clearer because if you wrote this in 1 minute and 30 seconds, it's fantastic. But you can probably make it even shorter and have more time for the lecture. Because the reading states that studying abroad gives some benefits to people for future employment. So you can probably just summarize this in one sentence. In the same way, the reading states that employers prefer to make business with bilingual or trilingual workers. Now, in the same way, doesn't really fit here. I think what you want to say is something like because of this, or with this new language, something like that. But in the same way doesn't quite work because it's almost in the same way is the same manner. So it's like describing how you do something. So you want to plan how you're going to exercise in the morning. And in the same way, you want to plan how you're going to finish your project at work, right? You're saying in the same way that you plan your exercise is the same way that you plan your work. So this comparison is the way is not accurate to what's happening here. So I like this information. It's clear, it's good, it's strong, but we can make it a bit clearer. So let's look at another paragraph to help. So again, good, but I think it can be even simpler by getting right to the point. So let's look at Beatrice. Let's see if we have any questions that came up. First, the reading states that most students that study abroad learn another language. And language doesn't need to be capitalized because it's not English, Spanish, French, German, which needs to be capitalized. A proper name is just reading, listening, speaking, language, just normal. This is what you can also write, Noelba. You see, everyone, it gets right to the point. Now, here's the awesome thing, Beatrice and everybody else. If this was the only thing written, it would be incomplete because that's not the complete point of the author. The reading states that most students that study abroad learn another language. It is extremely helpful for future employment. As a result, employers are seeking bilingual applicants. This is really better, but we want to be careful because it's not as a result, because here are the 2 points. extremely helpful for future employment. Employers are seeking bilingual applicants. Extremely helpful for future employment. Employers are seeking bilingual applicants. Which one is the reason? Which one is the cause? The fact that it's extremely helpful, or employers are seeking bilingual? Which one is the cause? Tell me. So I'm going to put it up here, make it a little bit easier. So we have two pieces of information, and I'm going to delete as a result just to make it a little easier. So we have A, it is extremely helpful for future employment. B, employers are seeking bilingual applicants. There's a relationship between A and B. Which is the cause? Which is the reason? A or B? Which is the cause? Which is the reason? You see it now, right? B. So we actually want to say something like this. Because employers are seeking bilingual applicants, this is extremely helpful for future employment. Or it is extremely helpful for future employment because employers are seeking bilingual applicants. Does that make sense, everyone? Yes, no, maybe so? So we'll do this. Clear? Good. Now you see, this is why I wanted to take the time to show you this, because we want to study this. As you see, it comes up more than once. And this is important as we want to get a 24 plus, because that means we need to be evaluated at a high rating, 4 or 5, which means we need to demonstrate our ability to use those words accurately. But this is very strong. Now, one thing that I think can be even stronger to be safe. The reading states that most students that study abroad learn another language. This is explaining the reason very clearly. Because you're being evaluated, and this is an academic test where graders are evaluating your understanding, repetition is helpful because it shows your understanding at every step of the way. So I would restate quickly the main point of the author. So first, the reading states that most students should study abroad because they learn another language as a result. It is extremely, so I put should study abroad because they learn another language as a result. So now, no grader can think that you don't understand 100% because you've told me the point completely. Learn another language, which is good for future employment, and this is why you should study abroad in a very clean, simple way. Does that make sense, everybody? Do you see the way we're writing or discussing the reading to improve our score, right? The way we need to think critically and avoid what is a kind of we can consider a common error. Good. So let's look at the next one. Amanfi. First, the reading states, because reading is singular, right? Eating is, reading is, sleeping is. ING verbs are singular. Remember that, everybody, memorize it because it's quite common to write that in your essay. So first, the reading states that the student, now here, let me keep reading, that the student have more benefits since they have forced themselves to have the ability to speak two languages at the same times. This is good in the fact that you're referencing the argument. This reminds me a little bit of Noelba, because in Noelba, you're giving me everything. This is a bit of a summary. You don't need to summarize, you just need to explain the point completely. And I hope you're learning the difference. You know, we did that very clear here with Beatrice's paragraph. So the argument of the author is study abroad. Why? Why study abroad? That's what you're doing. You're telling me what is the support the author is giving. And the support Directly is you'll learn another language. You're forced to learn another language, and that's really helpful for getting a job in the future. So you're giving me a little bit more than is necessary. So first, the reading states that the student have more benefits. So we would say students have more benefits, and this is a bit incomplete, studying abroad. Now, it's not that they have more benefits, it's that this is one of the benefits, right? Because we're giving, the author gives 3 points, and this is one of them, we can assume, right? This is one. So it makes more sense for me to say the reading states that students have one great benefit from studying abroad. And then I can use a colon here, right? Here it is. Learning a new, or you can say, because you use the word force, which is good, we'd have to say being forced, right? Because it's passive voice. Being forced to learn another language. So that's, I believe, what you're trying to say. The reading states that students have one great benefit from studying abroad, being forced to learn another language. And then we can say, because, like, why is it a benefit? Who cares about learning a new language? The author is saying because it will help them to have a better job in the future, period. So you see the adjustments we've made to each paragraph to add that clarity and simplicity. Does that help everyone? Does that make sense? And Kieran and Hani, I would love to read your paragraphs, but the time is a little tight. I'll do my best to give more feedback. Every day we have 2 more awesome days together. Good. So now we have some time left. Let's do another paragraph. And again, apply what you learned. And so I'm going to give you a little image here just to give you some sense. And that's the reading. So paragraph 1, the introduction. You want to ask yourself, is the point clear? As you write it, is this point clear? Is it simple? Is it direct? When you go in this, so that's the intro. When you go into the body paragraphs, you want to show, am I explaining the point clearly? And in addition, right, do I show how it supports the author's point, idea, theory, etc. Right? Am I explaining the point clearly? And do I show how it supports the author's point? I guess this can be a little tricky, right? By this, we can maybe use the word thesis, right, back to the author's reason. And for the example of that, we can go, I think, back to Beatrice, where remember how I added should study abroad? So this is the reference to the author's main point. So that's what I mean. If we didn't have that, it would have explained the point clearly. It would have explained the point clearly, but it wouldn't have shown how it supports the author's point. So we want to do both, and then the reference is complete, and we know we've created the best paragraph. Does that make sense, everybody? Yes, no, maybe so? Good. And Farrad, I'll try to check your paragraph on the next round. Good. Now, Maryam, most of you understand, which is great. And then a couple of you maybe have some confusion. So I'll always say now, when you say no, tell me what's a little tricky. And then I'll do my best to emphasize that, right? Like what's confusing. So if it doesn't make sense, where would you like some more help? So let's try Maryam to put everything together in the next one. So just to repeat, when you reference the reading, For the body paragraph, first, are you explaining the author's point clearly? Right? The benefit is that you learn a new language, which helps you get a good job in the future. That's really clear, right? Okay, got it. And are you showing how it supports the point? Which is basically just referencing the point again, the main thesis, which would be first, because students learn a new language, which helps them for their future career, that's the first reason the author thinks students should study abroad, just emphasizing it. But that's the complete reference of the author. And now you're ready to talk about the lecture. So let's give the next paragraph a try. Okay, so let's go back to our scratch paper. Let's try this again to really build our skill. I'm going to give you 50 seconds. Is everybody ready? Yes, no, maybe so. Well, Merriam says the problem is the writing speed. If you're able to write it in a minute and 30 seconds, you don't really have trouble with writing speed, I would say. Number two, sometimes it's not writing speed, it's being comfortable knowing what you have to do, so you don't need to think so much, because sometimes your writing speed is slower because you're still learning how to put everything together. But once you do it, you'll be faster. So it's kind of a little bit of give and take between writing speed and knowing what to write. So 50 seconds, everybody. Take notes. Go ahead and begin. All right, everyone. So I hope you got that point. Remember, some paragraphs are easier, some paragraphs are trickier. Let's go ahead now and write that next paragraph, the reference to the reading, applying what you learned with spelling and with the connection and with the clarity. So I'll give you 1 minute and 30 seconds. All right, so go ahead and begin typing now. All right, so copy and paste, and let's review together. let me see the names. So we have reviewed Hani, Sylvain, Rodisa, Noelba, Beatrice, Amanfi, and 3 other students that I cannot recall. So go ahead and copy and paste your essays. Copy and paste, copy and paste. Let's look at Joy's. I think Joy's, I evaluated yours on the first round, but just in case. Atif, I don't believe I evaluated yours. So we'll put that here. Or maybe some of you are realizing, wow, Joe has a bad memory. So if he can do it, I can definitely do it. Okay. Then we have Anjana Ben. Let's review yours. I'll review the second. You, I think, copy and pasted it twice, so I hope I did it well. Let's see if I spelled your name correctly. Jonathan. Maybe Farid or someone else that I haven't reviewed. Couldn't finish. Let's see if you can finish it now. So let's try. Let's try Marianne. Okay. All right, everyone. Remember, compare your essay to this one as we review together. Not your essay, your paragraph, right? Here we go. Most students, so I would say second, right? Because it's just nice to show first, second, third. I know it can be a little difficult because we're doing this one by one. But second, most students who study abroad can greatly improve their ability to succeed in various settings. Great. For example, in Italy, they teach lectures in a format way, and this helps students in future. This is good. One thing that's missing, though, is the detail of how they improve their ability, what they improve their ability on. This example is support, but isn't quite necessary. So this reminds me a little bit of before in, I think, maybe, which one was it? I forget, but there was, I think, a paragraph that we reviewed together that didn't really clearly, oh, I think Noelba, you gave a good amount of the background, and then you explained in the middle and towards the end the main benefit, right? They learn a new language, helps them for their career, that's why they should study abroad. This is doing something similar. So the evidence is good for us to understand, but we want to just say the main point. So what is the benefit? Most students who study abroad can greatly improve what? What can they improve, everybody? What can they improve? Tell me, tell me. Hurry, we're approaching the final minutes. Learning style, very good. They learn, they can learn in different styles. So most students who study abroad can greatly improve, we can say a couple of things, their ability to learn in different styles so they can succeed in various settings, or which allows them to succeed in various settings, right? Greatly improve their ability to learn in different styles. That's how we want to establish. So second, most students, and again, I'm going to say this, should study abroad. You see, that's the reference to the main point, and it's just sometimes a couple of words. Second, most students should study abroad, and I would just say here maybe, according to the author, because they maybe, instead of can, you can also say will, not a big deal. So according to the author, because they will greatly improve their ability to learn in different styles. And then I might change this language. This will help them succeed in various settings. Does that make sense, everybody? You see the changes we made to do the three things. Say the point completely and have a quick reference to the major idea of the author. Does that make sense? Honey, I do my best, but I think we're already going to go over next time, right? Tomorrow. So for those of you who want to be reviewed, kind of have that be one of the first. And, you know, one student per class. I'll do my best to give more. I know feedback is helpful. Second, so Anjanaben, second, the author reports that the students who study abroad can get exposure to various learning styles, which can improve students. I would just say their. In this case, I think a pronoun is okay, because this is a little tricky, right? Improve a student's ability or their ability to succeed in different settings. I would like to say, bravo, bing, 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 everyone is doing very well. And this one is fantastic because besides there's no feedback. This is prepared to get a 28 to 30 out of 30. You know, as long as the rest of the paragraph, the rest of the essay is like this. So you got it. This is how you want to write it. When you can do this consistently, you've mastered, I would say, 30%, 40%, 30% of your success. Tomorrow and the day after, we focus on the lecture, which is, of course, the 60 to 70% of your success, right? It's all about the lecture. Well done, Anjanaben. Great example. Second, you say comma, different learning styles help students to deal with various settings. For example, in Italy, comma, no big deal. For example, in Italy, professors teach in lecture patterns. So you want to be careful. Lecture, the spelling. And again, something to be aware of because the reading has that spelled correctly. So just some awareness. Lecture patterns, which is different from US discussion classes. I really like this paragraph. I really like it because you're saying the main points. I think a different phrasing would make it even clearer because what's happening is that different learning styles help students. Good. But you haven't established that studying abroad exposes students to different learning styles. So studying abroad exposes, right? I think exposes is the best word. I don't really know another synonym that might work, but studying abroad gives students a chance, exposes students to, right? Studying abroad exposes students to different learning styles. Now, as a result of this, which will help students deal with, which will help students to deal with various settings, this is another important reason students should study abroad, right? Again, helping you to create that connection to the major point of the author. It's a little bit repetitive, but I find it really important because sometimes not having that creates a little lack of clarity and makes the reader wonder, does the student still see this as connected, or are they kind of just referencing point by point and not really realizing this is the argument, this is the support back to the major claim? So studying abroad exposes students to different learning styles. We need to have that connection. We need to say, doing this gives that. Studying abroad exposes students to different learning styles, which will help students to deal with various settings, right? We're saying the cause and effect. You study abroad, this happens, it's beneficial for this reason, that's why everyone should study abroad, right? You see that simple repeating pattern. In question number 3 of the speaking, when we have a class on that, it's like the same thing. Question number 5, when you talk about the problem in the speaking, the same thing. Question number 2 of the writing, which we're going to do next week, I'll give you guys a link and share with you how to register for that. Talk about the same thing, creating connection where we're always making a complete piece of information. So this is good for you to know perfectly fine to have, but not necessary. So instead of putting the cross out, I would put it in italics. So I want you to realize if you have time to do that, no problem. Nice. If you don't have time, that's extra because this is the critical element. Okay? So tomorrow we may do the third paragraph individually, but tomorrow we're going to get into the lecture. And now recognizing, okay, how do we transition well? And how do we explain the lecture well? Also showing how it contrasts. So it's going to be pretty awesome. All right, everybody. Whew. 2 hours just like that. We made the 2 hour class. We made the whole week one class to really be thorough because these class series are meant to give you new material that you haven't seen before and really just drill now. Like we're working together so you're practicing to improve. So how was that, everybody? Did you find it helpful? You're eager for tomorrow? Did you learn? Did you see, this is what I need to do to get a higher score? Oh, I have to make these connections. I have to be careful of my spelling. I have to make sure that I'm kind of showing the cause and effect. Yeah? Good. So good feedback. Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, Joy says basically we should just explain the reading well. Yeah, the best we can. Noelba, happy you made it. Good. Amanfi, maybe when you review again. Yeah. Remember, you always want to review until you feel comfort and confidence. You always want to drill until you feel that. Because one final thing, remember that what we're doing is for when you sit down and take the TOEFL in the room with the in the last, third hour and you're typing, this is what you want to do. So well done, everybody. It was a pleasure as always.